So Mark Zuckerberg is continuing to bend over and grab the ankles. He's reading the tea leaves. He's seen that the era of censorship is in trouble, and he knows that he might end up paying a price for it if he continues along his path. And so he is finally starting to retract some of his long-held anti-free speech rules on his platforms. Now, this, of course, is dismaying to the speech Nazis of the EU. In fact, to illustrate this, we're going to look at the European Fact-Checking Standards Network, which is a mouthful to say, who expressed their disappointment with Meta's decision and condemned his statements, Mark Zuckerberg's, linking the fact-checking to censorship. Oh golly, oh gosh, gee, oh my. Let's take a look at what they said. This is an article posted yesterday titled EFCSN's Disappointed by End to Meta's Third-Party Fact-Checking Program in the U.S. and condemns statement linking fact-checking to censorship. Let's move down to the meat of this article, shall we? Yeah, here we go. So they say the EFCSN takes issue with the characterization of fact-checkers and journalists by Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg in his announcement. In the justification for ending the program, Zuckerberg said, fact-checkers have been just too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created. This is patently false. Really? Patently false. What crack are these people smoking? These censorship fact-checkers, unless you are politically aligned with them, most people think it's garbage. This has been one of the driving forces in the loss of trust across the board. Anyway, they go on to write, fact-checkers are held to the highest journalistic standards. Well, there's your problem. Journalists have no standards. Anyway, they say, of non-biased reporting, oh, that's laughable, transparency, integrity, and accountability. With who? Accountability? What the hell are these guys smoking? Anyway, they say with organizations like the EFCSN upholding these standards through an independently conducted audit. Yeah, I'll bet they are. Linking fact-checking with censorship is especially harmful, as such false claims are already one of the driving forces behind harassment and attacks on fact-checkers. I'm sorry. The people that are censoring the world at large are getting harassed for doing this to them? I don't feel sorry at all for these people. Anyway, they say furthering these claims can only exacerbate an already dire issue affecting fact-checkers across the world. Yeah, we need to get rid of these people who call themselves fact-checkers. We don't need a bunch of nincompoops. We don't need these self-righteous, self-appointed fact-checkers to be telling us what we are to believe. Go to hell is what I have to say to these people. Anyway, they go on to complain that with several European countries heading to the polls in 2025, meaning, oh no, we might not be able to influence these elections, platforms retracting from the fight against mis- and disinformation allows and potentially even invites election interference. Oh, come on. Boo-hoo-hoo. You mean you don't get to add to the election interference? Oh, I see. Right. The EU in particular must stand strong in the enforcement of its own laws, even in the face of pressure from other countries. Translation, they want to be able to do socialist, communist-style censorship. They're happy that their governments are doing this, and they want to continue controlling what people see, think, and speak. That's it, hands down. These people can go f*** themselves. So this is a CNN article talking about these new changes. This is by Claire Duffy. She writes, calling women household objects is now permitted on Facebook after Meta updated its guidelines. Let's read. She writes, Meta on Tuesday announced sweeping changes to how it moderates content that will roll out in the coming months, including doing away with professional fact-checking, a good thing, I would argue. But the company also quietly updated its hateful conduct policy, adding new types of content users can post on the platform, effective immediately. She's incorrect. It's actually effective today. Anyway, she said users are now allowed to, for example, refer to women as household objects or property, or transgender or non-binary people as it, according to a section of the policy prohibiting such speech that was crossed out. A new section of the policy notes Meta will allow allegations of mental illness or abnormality when based on gender or sexual orientation, given political and religious discourse about transgenderism and homosexuality. Well, in the case of transgenderism, I'm just going to be straight up and say this. were promoting mental illness, the idea that you couldn't talk about it, the idea that we are denying science, your XXXY chromosome somehow didn't matter, and whoopsie doopsie, you could do whatever you want with your gender. And more importantly, the targeting of children with this stuff and the idea that you couldn't speak up about it. When I believe in the future, we're going to look back on this time period and look on it with horror for how many children we have damaged or harmed with surgeries, to change the biological sex of a boy and girl. It's insidious. It's evil. So, wow. So surprised. So shocked, right? Of course, people were going to go against this. But anyway, so she's not happy about this, that people can talk about these things. Okay, so then she writes, previously, such comments would have been subject to removal under the policy. The changes to Meta's hateful content policy were first reported by Wire. Now, Meta had hinted in its announcement about its content moderation policy changes Tuesday morning that it would get rid of restrictions on certain topics such as immigration and gender identity. Yeah, because he knows where things are going. He knows he's going to be in trouble if he tries to keep on censoring those conversations. Anyway, she continues. She writes, but the updated policy shows just how Meta quickly is moving to enact CEO Mark Zuckerberg's vision for free expression. Meta on Tuesday also announced it would do away with its network of independent fact checkers. That's good in the United States, and will instead rely on user-generated community notes to add context to posts, similar to the X platform. It also said that it would adjust its automated systems that scan for policy violations, which it says have resulted in too much content being censored that shouldn't have been. Boy, that is the understatement of the century. These speech Nazis have absolutely quelled and crushed people's abilities to have any kind of conversation on their platforms. And let me tell you something, as someone who during the pandemic was doing medical news and who spearheaded one of the larger conversations that took place, because on this channel, we were one of the very first people, for example, to discuss the ivermectin drama, right? Which I won't get into here. We retroactively had on this platform alone, over 50 videos taken down. They got scrubbed, and eventually I just simply took down the rest because what was the point? Didn't want to get things pulled, didn't need other strikes. It was just too much to fight it. And Facebook was the first to do this. Facebook was one of the earliest people to shut down conversations. So, I have no sympathy for these people. And this automated system garbage, it's just, it never should have been allowed. So, well, congratulations, you're taking it down now. I mean, okay, great. Anyway, the automated systems will now be focused only on extreme violations, such as child sexual exploitation and terrorism, which is the only thing something like that should ever be used for, is something that is criminal in nature, period. Anyway, Zuckerberg acknowledged that the new approach will mean that we're going to catch less bad stuff, but will also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Translation, boy, I really don't want to get sued. Please don't sue me, Donald Trump. Please don't go after me, DOJ. And then anyway, she goes on to write, a Meta spokesperson noted that the company will continue to prohibit attacks against certain groups, such as those based on ethnicity, race, and religion, as well as prohibiting slurs under the policy. And the spokesperson said that the company will continue to enforce its policies against targeted bullying and harassment, as well as incitement of violence. She goes on to write that the company's Tuesday's changes come as the company and its leaders have sought to curry favor with Donald Trump and other Republicans ahead of the president-elect's second term, echoing in its announcement long-standing criticisms that Meta was censoring conservative voices. Yeah, because they were. And it wasn't just conservatives. It was anyone that wasn't towing the weird, lunatic, far-fringe left's idea of what speech should be allowed. There's a reason why you have leftists like Elon Musk, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., like Tulsi Gabbard, and so many others who have been abandoning the party because they lost their damn minds. And people like Mark Zuckerberg here played a role in allowing this to happen. And you can trace this back to cancel culture. This whole speech move no place in polite society, and especially here in the US. Anyway, she continues on by saying Trump welcomed the changes in a press conference Tuesday and said he thinks the changes are probably due to threats he made to Zuckerberg in the past. But some experts who study the online information ecosystem raise alarms that the changes could lead to more viral false claims and hate speech on Meta's platforms, meaning they won't be able to control their narrative. They won't be able to shut up people that they disagree with. And for now, that'll be conservatives. Among the other changes to Meta's hateful conduct policy, the company removed a prohibition against statements denying the existence of protected groups, such as statements that a certain group of people doesn't or shouldn't exist. The policy also now allows for content arguing in favor of gender-based limitations of military, law enforcement, and teaching jobs. And finally, she notes that the company also updated its misinformation policy to note the dissolution of US-based fact-checking network. Wow. Well, that's good news for everyone. So here we are. It's a few steps in the right direction, and that's good, I suppose, and especially coming from the man that practiced anti-American censorship for years now. But as far as I'm concerned, none of this is remotely enough. The damage that someone like Mark Zuckerberg has done to not just American citizens, but users across the globe by his practicing of Orwellian censorship cannot be understated here. How many people has he harmed and deplatformed over the years? How many of these people have become afraid to use their right to free speech, specifically here in the US, for fear of being banished into oblivion? How can we calculate how much damage he and his peers who run all the major social media countries have inflicted upon the world? I, for one, hope that Mark Zuckerberg does not escape punishment for his actions, nor should people forget what he has done. But that's just my opinion. From the To Be Frank show, I am Adrian. Thanks for watching, my friends. See you all in the next video.